Welcome to this week's Little Saturday podcast, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back again this Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. That's 10 Central Time, because I'll be working and operating on Central Time this weekend, so I'm trying to get it straight in my own head. But looking forward to it. We got another day to wait before the Stanley Cup Final resumes between the Nashville Predators and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Series tied at 2 apiece. Home teams have been winning so far. Will that trend continue? I don't know about you, but I'm kind of anxious to see. By the way, the Twitter handles is always to reach us at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports. Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is my email address. We try to keep the communication going even through the week. That's why we do these little Saturday podcasts, to have a little bit of weekend in the middle of the week. And because there's a whole bunch of hockey news, much of it surrounding the Stanley Cup Final between the Preds and the Penguins. There's some other things going on in the National Hockey League as well. There's a lot of talk and discussion about coaches, about player movement that potentially could be occurring over the next couple of weeks. Because, we're only a couple of weeks away from the NHL awards. And on that same night is going to be the expansion draft reveal by the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm looking forward to that. I think there is going to be a lot of things that happen over the next couple of weeks. It's going to be fun to see how it all plays out, which protected players or those that believe will be protected will actually be moved, and all kinds of other stuff. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens over the next couple of weeks. Then, just a few days after the awards and the expansion draft, of course, it's the NHL entry draft coming up in Chicago at the United Center, and we'll be there. We're looking forward to it. We're heading to Chicago for the weekend. Oh, yeah. Happy to get back out on the road and enjoy a special event. And again, much of the player movement is going to take place leading up to the Friday night first round, and then through Saturday, where there's rounds 2 through 7. And that's when, of course, we will wrap up the season with our regular post-draft party. Looking forward to it. It'll be fun. You want to be tuned in. As soon as the NHL entry draft finishes up, that's when we'll hit it. Okay, so a couple of things about the Stanley Cup Final. Took a bit of heat, took a bit of a beating when I said after Game 3 that it wasn't a series yet, despite all the cliche responses from the mainstream media and on social media that, oh, Nashville won, it's a series now. Well, it wasn't a series then. Nashville had some life. Now that they won Game 4, it's a best-of-3 series. First team to get 2 more wins is going to be hoisting the Stanley Cup and then celebrating all summer that they were the victorious group. And I'm really intrigued to see what kind of twists and turns we get going into game number 5 and then game number 6 back in Nashville. Oh, first thing, I don't know if you've caught it on television, if you were watching or listening on any of the radio reports or some of the online reports. A lot of those in the media that have been working the Stanley Cup Final and were in Nashville for 3-4 days, when they were filing those reports, either on radio, on the web, or on television, boy, did a lot of them have the real husky, I was out late the night before voices. They were really gravelly. And hey, I'm not getting on them about it. You should be doing that. You should be celebrating and enjoying it. Hey, the whole city of Nashville has been celebrating and enjoying it, and good for them. So they should. They played 2 good games at home. Pekka Rinne looked like, well, Pekka Rinne, the goaltender we were expecting to see in the Stanley Cup Final. He'd been there for the first 3 rounds of the postseason. Some guy was impersonating him in the first 2 games. He came back in games number 3 and 4 and is one of the big reasons that the Nashville Predators are in a series now against the Pittsburgh Penguins. He was sensational. 2 goals in 2 games. Can't ask for much better than that. And as Mike Sullivan said, you score 1 goal, you can't really expect to win. There's other reasons why Pittsburgh has not been successful on the road. I do think that they're winning at home, though. I think they're winning game number 5, and I think that's going to set up for a sensational game number 6. Kind of got my fingers crossed, but I can really see this one going to 7 games as well. But we'll get to that as the days go on and we get closer to game number 7. But I'm looking forward to Game 5. I do think Pittsburgh wins it because I think they will have a big bounce back. There were a lot of things that they didn't do well in Games 3 and 4 on the road. I think Nick Bonino being out of the lineup is a huge thing for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Sure, terrific penalty kill. He had been chipping in offensively since he had the little heart-to-heart talk with Mike Sullivan, and Mike Sullivan told him, look, we need more from you. But that injury from blocking a shot that has kept Nick Bonino out for 2 games, I think is a bigger deal than some people are willing to recognize or let on. I hope he gets back in because the Pens are better with him in the lineup. It was last year 3 lines and at times 4 lines deep in offense. If you got Nick Bonino out, that takes away some of that offensive punch that the Pittsburgh Penguins used to their advantage last year. That also offensively helps shore up the defensive deficiencies they've got without Chris Letang in the lineup and that makeshift cobbled together defensive lineup that they have. Whether it's Nick Bonino in the lineup or anybody else for the Pittsburgh Penguins, you got to score on the power play. And they have not been able to score on the power play through this Stanley Cup Final. Maybe they just need a few more opportunities. It's something they will break out of eventually, but Pittsburgh's got to score on the power play if they're going to be successful in the next 2 or 3 games and be able to collect that back-to-back Stanley Cup. I think that's going to be really interesting to keep watching and to keep seeing. The television ratings have been very good in Canada. They've been good in the United States. It seems like everyone is interested in the Stanley Cup Final. On the NBC broadcast, they had Charles Barkley, who came to Nashville at the invitation of the league. Well, that's nice. I'm not a huge Charles Barkley fan. I'm not sure exactly what the appeal is. I'm not a big basketball guy, but okay, that's great that someone else in another sport seems to think that the NHL and the Stanley Cup playoffs are good. Well, we know that. I don't think we need validation from another source. It was great that the NBC show had Carrie Underwood on, Mrs. Mike Fisher on, and I'd still love to have her, in addition to doing the Sunday Night Football theme for NBC, do the big theme for NHL hockey that they could run every Wednesday when they do their game of the week on NBCSN. We'll see. Video review worked as it should with the Frederick Gaudreau goal. Yes, the play went on. They went and looked at it. Oh, did cross the line. That's good news. Now, couple of other things that are going on in the National Hockey League right now in terms of business, and talked about players, and there's going to be movement and stuff. The competition committee had a little get-together and meeting while the Stanley Cup Final is going on. This is, I guess, a regular drill. So what the competition committee came up with, now this is made up of coaches, of players, and executives that are currently working in the National Hockey League. Now the big earth-shattering recommendations of the competition committee, well, we recommend that you can't call a timeout after an icing call, and we recommend when there's a high stick at some point, we decided maybe we'll change the location of the face-off on the ensuing start of play. This is what the competition committee came up with. This is what the players, the coaches, the executives, this is what they came up with. You know what? Quit. Just go away. Stop. Every last one of you. That is embarrassing, and you should personally be embarrassed for having your name affixed to it. Let's see. We went for 6 months talking about how do we get more offense into the game. Don't want to deal with that. We went for 6 months through the regular season and to the postseason talking about slashing. No, don't even want to address it. Don't even want to deal with it. How to get more scoring into the game. What about all the questions of officiating and getting the officiating to operate smoother? Nope, don't even want to talk about it. Don't even want to deal with it. The size of equipment and the potential for injury from some equipment like those hard pads or shrinking goalie pads. Nope, don't want to talk about it. Don't want to deal with it. What about how to get some of the nasty, dirty, cheap shots and bad hits out of the game? Nope, not a word. Silence. But don't call a timeout after an icing, and we're going to fix up a face-off location after a high-sticking infraction. You should be embarrassed. You should be embarrassed that this is the kind of stuff that you're putting forward. This is where big thinkers need to be. To look at the future of the game, to continue to improve it, to continue to make it better, and to run smoother and make it more exciting and create more offense and draw in more fans. I think you should be embarrassed if you're on the competition committee and these are your recommendations. I think it's really sad. I am looking, though, forward to the conclusion of the Stanley Cup Final, game number 5 on Thursday, and then game number 6 is not until Sunday. So those people that were out late in Nashville are going to have an opportunity to do that again a couple of times before the game comes up on Sunday. Yeah, it's 2 days off between games. It's scheduling and building availability, but mostly it's television that wants it on the certain nights. We'll wait. It'll be worth it. I'm interested to see how the rest of the series shakes out. Game number 5, I'm leaning to Pittsburgh, and I think that sets up a real interesting game number 6 back in Nashville on Sunday. We're, of course, back with you this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. That's 10 Central as well. Yeah, operating on the Central. See, I got it figured out. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. Enjoy game number 5. We'll be back with you to wrap up game number 5 and look ahead to game number 6 this weekend.